South Carolina and Southern Cal almost got. Olivia Miles dominates, and a whole lot more. So guys, let's recap day one of women's college basketball.
Quita Loves Sports. It is in the name.
What is up, awesome people of the internet? Women's college basketball is back, and yesterday we saw a whole lot of games, over 100 games that happened yesterday. We saw some unexpected players showing up and showing out. We saw some good defense, and we saw a whole lot of terrible basketball. Absolutely terrible basketball. But it is game one. It is day one, I should say. So let's talk about it. All right, and we start with the first really big game of the day, happening all the way across the pond in Paris, where USC took down Ole Miss narrowly, 68-66. And guys, it was a battle between sophomore phenom Juju Watkins alongside her new teammate, transfer Kiki Ira-Afen. And guys, yes, it is pronounced Ira-Afen. That has been the correction as of yesterday. We have been saying her name wrong this entire time. Everyone was pronouncing it Iri-Afen, but it's Iri-Afen. Iri-Afen. So that's the official way to pronounce her last name. Anyway, you have those two versus the finally healthy KK Deans and Madison Scott for Ole Miss. You have offensive firepower on one side, and you have that slow you down, lockdown defense on the other side. So when you put that together, you see a slog. Overall, we saw some horrible offensive sets by USC. They were a turnover machine basically all game, led by their star Juju Watkins, who almost had a triple-double. And it's the absolute kind that you don't want to have. She had 27 points, which is really good. 10 rebounds, which is really good. And a whopping 9 turnovers, guys. Terrible for Juju Watkins. And guys, it wasn't just Juju Watkins turning over the ball. Overall, the entire team could not take care of the ball to save their lives. They had 26 turnovers in this game. And a huge reason for a lot of those turnovers, yes, was the defense of Ole Miss, but also it was the terrible offensive sets. They had Talia Von Oelhoffen playing the point for a good amount of the game, and while at times she did have some good passes at times, other times it felt stagnant. It felt like stagnant basketball where the ball would just wind up in Juju Watkins' hands, and it felt a lot like last year where, it was like sort of like give the ball to Juju and hope and pray something good happens. And that was fine and dandy last year when USC didn't have as much talent, but you bring in big time transfers. You have a really excellent freshman class that came in, and now we're still seeing the same strategy. Give it to Juju and hope and pray something good happens. And ultimately, if Juju feels like the weight is on her shoulders, she's going to turn over the ball a little bit more. And also, as a team, not even just Juju, the offensive sets and how many times they just got stuck on offense and wind up just doing something stupid. And it really does start with the PG on down. And I think Talia Von Oelhoffen really has to work this thing out. Maybe you're putting her off ball and you're having somebody else sort of be the PG. That's something that I really do think needs to get figured out really quickly, for USC to have success this year, long-term success this year. And guys, another huge reason for the amount of turnovers, yes, it was bad play by USC, but also it was fantastic defense by Ole Miss. Guys, we all know how much pride Coach Yeo puts on defense, and her team really put on a defensive clinic. They sat down on defense and had active hands basically the entire game. They played help defense, which allowed them to stay in the game long enough for their offense to finally come, and that did come in the second half. We all know that Ole Miss is not a great offensive team, but they do have KK Dean, who has returned to the team. She is their star guard who missed most of last season due to a knee injury. She returned to the Rebels, dropping 19 points before ultimately fouling out of the game with just seconds left to go. Yes, KK overall was not very efficient in this game. However, she did hit 4 clutch three-pointers in moments that really gave her team a chance to win the game. And it was a chance that ultimately her and her team squandered with 21 seconds left to go. The ball game was all tied up. It was 66-66. Ole Miss has the ball. They called a timeout. Now they're about to inbound the ball. KK Dean ended up doing a terrible pass that wound up getting stolen on the inbound. Wound up getting it stolen by Kiki Irafen. Kiki gives up a very easy layup, and we see in the background Juju Watkins like, what in the world? Mainly because Kiki, the thought process, I think it shows the thought process of Kiki and like how things happen in Stanford, right? The idea that Kiki Irafen had a very quick, easy look for a layup. She decides not to do it because there was still a lot of time on the clock, and she was like, okay, well let's waste more time. And so she passes the ball out to Talia von Oelhoffen, but TVO does not have the same mental strategy, and so she just chucks it up. I mean, yeah, she was wide open, but that was a bad shot. She's not that great of a three-point shooter to shoot that, especially when your post player gave up a layup just to waste time. She chucks up a three-point shot. She misses. Luckily for her, Kiki Irafen gets the rebound, ends up getting fouled by KK Deans, and Kiki ends up going to the free throw line, making both free throws, ultimately sealing the game from there. Now, yeah, there was 9 seconds left to go, but KK Deans was fouled out by that time, and Ole Miss really couldn't do anything in that 9 seconds to score. So ultimately, we do see the final score 68-66. Now, even through the loss, Ole Miss played a really fantastic game. For USC, they really do have to work on offensive sets. As I said before, like Talia von Oelhoffen it's clear that she doesn't feel extremely comfortable with the offense that they're running. I don't know. Maybe you take her off ball and see how that works. Something has to get worked out. Something has to get worked out from that point guard role. Either she just needs to get more comfortable really fast, or they need to make a change. Either way, that's my sort of thoughts right there. And Lindsey Gibbs, she knows it wasn't a really good game, but they ultimately end up with the W. Last year, USC strategy really was give to Juju and hope and pray. Now, yesterday we did see quite a bit of that. Give it to Juju and just watch what she does, which is great because Juju can score. She had 27 points yesterday. They do also this year have the benefit of having someone down low who can give you 20 plus points night in and night out, and that is Kiki Irafen. Kiki ended up having a double-double, 22 points, 13 rebounds. We also saw Kennedy Smith, freshman, get the starting nod, adding 12 points and 7 rebounds to USC. I'm really interested to see how she continues to develop because I think she has potential to be a huge star at USC for years to come. USC takes on Cal Poly on Saturday, and Ole Miss take on Arkansas Pine Bluff on Sunday. All right, now we move on to the next game, to move on to the other USC, or SC, I should say, who took down Michigan. So South Carolina beat Michigan in a slog of a game, 68-62. The defending champs took largely the same team from last year into the season with some big differences. They are without their dominant post, Kamilla Cardoso, who went on to the WNBA, playing for the Chicago Sky, and Ashlyn Watkins, who is away from the team dealing with legal issues. Now, because you don't have sort of that dominant post player, the guards really had to take charge for South Carolina, and that is something that they did not do well at all. So the guards really needed to do something, but as I said, they didn't really do anything. You saw Raven Johnson go 0 of 8 from the field, only had 2 points. Not good. We saw Bree Hall. She actually was pretty decent. Went 50% from the field, ended up scoring 7 points. Tahina Pow was 4 of 10 from the field, ended up with 9 points. But it wasn't the guards that were really doing, at least the starters. It wasn't the starters that were really doing anything. Chloe Kitts really did save South Carolina's behind in this game. She ultimately finished the game with 19 points, scoring the first several. I believe she scored the first 6 points for this team. She was kind of doing everything. 50% from the field. She made all of her free throws, ended up with 19 points, 14 rebounds for Chloe Kitts. She was aided by the youngsters off the bench because the starters were not helping her out. Joyce Edwards, the freshie, came in with a very inefficient scoring day, but she wound up having 10 points. We also saw Tessa Johnson, who probably needs to be moved into the starting lineup. I'm just saying. Who added in 15 points for her squad, also shooting 50% from the field. Guys, overall, it was a terrible offensive night for South Carolina. Again, their starting guards really couldn't really do anything in terms of just scoring the basketball consistently. And thank goodness for Chloe Kitts and the freshman and Tessa, because otherwise, yeah, we would have saw South Carolina take that first L. We would have saw them take that first L. Now, here's the thing. Even though South Carolina shoot a abysmal 33% from the field, their offensive game, sure was bad, but it was their defense that was probably the most problematic for South Carolina. So if your offense ain't gonna score, at least make sure your defense top notch. And the defense, unfortunately for them, was not top notch, especially in that first half. They pride themselves. South Carolina prides themselves on defense, and yesterday they allowed a lot. They allowed Michigan to grab key rebounds. They allow for easier shots, both in the paint and from the 3-point line. And yes, they did get it together in the second half, but I think it was less about sort of defensive intensity in the second half and more about Michigan just starting to miss shots in that second half. What should have been probably a 20-point victory for South Carolina ended up being a slog of the game. But guys, I gotta give the biggest of shout outs to Michigan. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, Michigan was not on my radar at all. In the preseason, at all. Not on my radar. But they bring in I believe 6 transfers to the squad. Jordan Hobbs ended up cooking yesterday. She was cooking in the first half. Ultimately, she finished the game with 19 points, including 5 big-time 3-point buckets. She also had 8 rebounds as well. And y'all, there is something y'all need to know about this freshman named Sila Swords. Sila Swords had a phenomenal game. Again, she was also not on my radar at all, but she was on fire yesterday, dropping 27 points. Yeah, you heard me. I said 27 points against South Carolina, including a clutch 3-point step back 3-point shot to get her team within 2 points with 22 seconds left to go in the fourth quarter. She had a double-double. She also had a double-double with 12 rebounds as well. Both Sila and Jordan, they kept the Wolverines in this game. They really did. And those are 2 players that y'all need to be watching out for, specifically Sila Swords. I had no idea about this girl, but I'm a fan now. I'm a fan now, and I can't wait to see what else she does. Ultimately, guys, for Michigan, it was a foul game at the end of the game because after Sila hit that big 3-pointer, again, there was 22 seconds left to go. South Carolina had the basketball, and so Michigan had to foul, and then South Carolina made the free throws, and that was the game. Next up, guys, we will see South Carolina play NC State on Sunday, and we will see Michigan play Lehigh on Friday. Moving on to the next game, Let's take a quicker look at some of these other games. We saw UCLA narrowly defeat Louisville 66-59. Now, UCLA did this without their starting guard, Kiki Rice, who injured her shoulder shortly before the game. They also were without incoming transfer Charlize Legger Walker. Now, instead of having them, the team had to rely on Lauren Betts, who had a double-double with 18 points and 13 rebounds. Fun fact, guys, did you know that she also led the team in assists last night? London Jones drained 3 threes, finishing with 13 points, and the transfer Kamilla Gardner from Oregon State dropped 15 points and 7 rebounds. Louisville was led by freshman Tanaya Roberts, who had a phenomenal 21-point game. She's someone who should absolutely be on your radar for this season, I should say. Again, another one of those freshmen who are doing their thing. It's something about these freshmen, guys, on opening nights. It's something about these freshmen. Louisville will play Southern Indiana on Friday, and UCLA will play Colgate at Poly Pavilion on Sunday. All right, next up, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish dominated the Mercyhurst Lakers 105-61. Yeah, sure, this is not the best competition in the world, but we got to see Notre Dame's big three in action, with Olivia Miles returning after an entire season off with a triple-double, dropping 20 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. Leah King also dropped some buckets, adding in a double-double of her own with 24 points, 11 rebounds. Hannah Hidalgo almost had a double-double with 19 points and 9 rebounds. I'm just so excited to watch this big three play. I think these three are going to be fantastic, especially when we get into ACC play. I'm really excited to watch them three play together. For Mercyhurst, they were led by junior Bailey Coons, who dropped 20 points. Now, another thing to note about this Notre Dame game, Notre Dame was without 4 of their key players. Sonia Citron was out due to a foot injury. Liza Carlin out with a foot injury. Kylie Watson out with the knee injury. And Maddie Westbell is out with a foot injury. So not that many players was able to suit up for the Fighting Irish. They do take on Purdue on Sunday. All right. Next up, we got LSU, who took down Eastern Kentucky 95-44. Flau'jae Johnson led the charge with an efficient 25 points scored. And Chicago's own Anissa Morrow dropped a double-double with 20 points and 10 rebounds. Samaya Smith made her return back from injury that she sustained last season, and she got a double-double with 15 points and 11 rebounds. LSU's next game is against Northwestern State on November the 8th. Iowa State took down Chicago State 96-56, and sophomores Addie Brown and Audie Crooks added in 20 points and 16 points, respectively. Now, fun fact, guys, did you know that Iowa State have now won 30 straight home openers, guys? That is the longest active streak in Division I women's basketball. The Cyclones face Indiana State on Thursday. All right, let's move on. We have Oklahoma, who took down Southern. The final score of that game was 76-44. Guys, Reagan Beers, the transfer from Oregon State, is doing her thing with Oklahoma. She had 21 points, 14 rebounds in that game for Oklahoma. She was helped out by her teammate Sarah Williams, who dropped in 19 points and 6 rebounds. All right, next up we have Duke, who took down Radford. The final score of this game was a whopping 89 points for Duke, 36 points for Radford. This is an abysmal stat. Did you know that in the second half, Radford combined for a total of 12 points in the entire second half? 6 points in the third quarter, 6 points in the fourth quarter. That's kind of wild. I can't remember the last time I saw that. For Duke, it was pretty much everybody was kind of doing their thing. We saw Reagan Richardson bring in 11 points. Jaden Donovan had 10 points and 9 rebounds in the game. Now, for Duke, this game doesn't tell that much. We did see the freshman, Toby, play 10 minutes. She also had 10 points in that period. She did get fouled out, though. So that's something that, to get fouled out in 10 minutes says a lot. I'm just saying. It says a whole lot. Anyway, moving on. All right, next up we have K-State, who took down Green Bay. The final score of that game was 92-45. For K-State, we saw Kennedy Taylor do her thing. She had a double-double with 16 points and 11 rebounds. Jalen Glenn had 17 points. Ayoka Lee does not play that much in this game, but not a big deal. She only plays 10 minutes, ends up with 7 points and 4 rebounds. North Carolina took down Charleston Southern. The final score of that game was 83-53. For North Carolina, it was all about Alyssa Utsby, who ended up scoring 18 points and grabbing 4 rebounds, I should say. And Lexi Donarski ended up adding 14 points for the Tar Heels. Maryland ended up taking down UNBC. The final score of that game was 74-32. In the fourth quarter, UNBC only scored 3 points, and they scored 10 points in the entire second half, 7 points scored in the third quarter. Now, for this game, Christina Dawsey kind of did her thing. She ended up getting a double-double with 13 points and 10 rebounds for Maryland. This is a Maryland squad that is really looking to kind of do their thing. We also see Cheyenne Sellers, who didn't have the most efficient game, but she did finish with 12 points, or I should say, 12 points in this game, grabbing 7 rebounds. Now, a thing to note is that this Duke team is a very new squad, very, very, very new squad. They do have 10 new players on their squad, including 7 transfers. A lot of transfers. I'm just saying, a lot of transfers for Kara Lawson and Duke. Next up, we have Florida State, who got over the 100 mark. They scored 119 points against North Florida, who had 49 points. Now, for Florida State, everybody was eating. Everybody was basically eating. We saw Tanaya Latson leading the charge with 27 points, including 3 three-pointers. We also saw Michaela Timpson adding in 22 rebounds. Wild. 12 offensive rebounds. This is crazy. 12 offensive rebounds, 10 defensive rebounds, ultimately 22 rebounds total, 17 points scored as well. A lot more people were getting on the board for Florida State. They do pass the 100 mark, which is kind of cool. One of the rare teams that did that yesterday. We also saw Kentucky, who almost got to that 100 mark. Kentucky took down UC Upstate. Final score of that game was 98. Kentucky 46. SC Upstate. Now for Kentucky, again, we have a new coach, a lot of new players, new system, and so we gonna really see what they can really do. We saw Clara Strack leading the charge for Kentucky. She actually scored 22 points, 6 rebounds. We saw Georgia Amore not have the best scoring night, but she did do a good job passing the ball. She was kind of close to a double-double, or triple-double, I should say. She had 11 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. And we saw Clara Silva, the freshie, ended up scoring 14 points, 7 rebounds in 23 minutes. All right, we're almost done. Next up, we got Nebraska. Nebraska, who took down Omaha 88-48. For Nebraska, it's all about the Cornhuskers, and it was a very even game. We saw Natalie Potts ended up scoring 14 points. Alexis Markowski, I should say, ended up scoring 14 points as well. She had a double-double with 11 rebounds. And we gonna see how Nebraska keeps going. They are ranked number 23 in the country right now. All right, to the other team that got over the 100-point mark. It is Alabama. Alabama scored 115 versus New Orleans 53. Now for Alabama, it was all about Sarah Ashley Barker. Sarah Ashley Barker did her thing, guys. 23 points for her, 8 rebounds in only 24 minutes. It wasn't just Sarah Ashley Barker. We saw Aaliyah Nye scoring 25 points as well in 22 minutes. So very, very efficient use of their time, but also competition wasn't the best either. So that's a thing. And finally, to end out day 1 of NCAA college basketball, we have Indiana, who took down Brown. Final score of that game was 82, Indiana 60 for Brown. Now, guys, in this game, it was all about Sydney Parrish. Sydney Parrish did her thing for Indiana, for the Hoosiers. She had 20 points, 10 rebounds in that game. So, really good play for her. Yardin Garzone ended up scoring 16 points, ended up having 4 3-pointers as well. So really good start for the Hoosiers. Now, guys, that is kind of the wrap up about the top 25 teams and what they did in day 1. Now, guys, there was over 100 games that happened yesterday, so I wasn't going to cover all of them, but hopefully I did cover enough for y'all to really feel like y'all know what happened. Now, guys, I have a huge favor for y'all. If y'all could please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button. This has taken me actually a long time to actually recap all the games. I know I didn't talk in depth about all the various games, but that would take even longer. Now, guys, let me know if this is valuable for y'all. Truly, let me know, or if this is not, because I'm trying to figure out what's worth my time and what's not worth my time, depending on what people's interests are. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Also, make sure to share this video with somebody. I take a lot of time to do these videos. I got up at 2 a.m. to actually make this video happen. So if y'all appreciate the effort, appreciate the information, please do me a huge favor and share this video. Sharing this actually is way better than even liking or subscribing. Sharing this video with other people who are interested in women's basketball is absolutely huge. So if you could do that, that would be really, really great. Thank y'all so much for rocking with me. Yeah. Happy women's college basketball. It is back. Let me know what y'all think about some of the games I talked about. What players are you looking out for? Let me know in the comments. More NCAA videos coming up soon. Till next time, guys. Bye.